I'm Tom.
And we are VIM2, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Today, I'm really excited about this one. I'm really excited. Tame Impala, Lonerism. Tame Impala's second album, their first album, Inner Speaker. Actually, I hadn't listened to it. I'd heard a couple tracks from it, on our local college radio station, 88.5 KURE. We love it, Iowa State. And I like their sound. I didn't know this, but apparently John Lennon is in their band.
Yeah, they brought him back from the dead.
He's back from the dead.
Which kind of completes the cycle, because you know that George Harrison is playing lead guitar for Smith Western.
Yes, exactly.
So, the dead Beatles are resurging into the indie scene.
And the live Beatles, Paul McCartney is getting kisses on his bottom.
Yep.
And Ringo Starr is Mr. Conductor on Thomas the Tank. The world is complete.
Yeah.
So this guy, Lonerism, the lead singer sounds exactly like John Lennon. It is honestly, it's terrifying when you're listening to this, because it's like, hey, this is really cool. In fact, I told a good friend of ours, Quinn, who's, I think Quinn's been on our
Velocities
music. Yeah. We told Quinn that, hey, you should check this out, because it's a kind of a fuzzy rock sound with lots of bass and
psychedelic.
Yeah, it's very psychedelic, very focused on songwriting, and they have a Beatle for a singer. So if you like that sort of sound, this is an album you should definitely check out, because these guys are not afraid to really have an aggressive take on songwriting. And one thing I really appreciated about Lonerism is they focus on albumization, or what we call albumization, or flow, and making the whole all 12 tracks really flow together as an album. This is a record that I think you could put on your phonograph and play throughout the whole thing and really feel like it was one cohesive listening experience.
Definitely. I totally agree. This one took me a while to warm up to, because the sound is very dense. There are a lot of layers of that psychedelia kind of holding you back from what the actual instrumentation and vocals are doing at first. Once you dive in and you can kind of wade through that, part the sea, if you will, get to what they're actually doing, there's a lot of good stuff going on here. And more than anything, this is just such an endearing and fun listen.
It is.
It just straight through. I don't think that there are any terrible tracks. I think that there's some clear standouts, and a few that to me I pass over a little bit. To kind of get into my big gripes about this album, because there are only a couple. There are really only a couple things holding this back from being like a mid to upper 80s album for me. And that's that I think I just wanted a little more dynamic contrast. We talk about this a lot. I feel like for me, the lows never got quite low enough and the highs never got quite high enough. Now, I'm also someone that likes a lot of intensity in my music. Then again, I still like albums like Nick Drake's Pink Moon.
Right.
I mean, that doesn't rock out at all. But when you're setting yourself up with an instrumental palette and a sound like this, I feel like it could have punched me in the face just a little more at times, and that really would have sucked me in even more. Still, this is just such a pleasant, warm, this album just embraces you, and you can't help but like that.
And I think that part of the reason why we don't hear that dynamic contrast, part of it's attributable to the songwriting, which I found that the songwriting of this album, there are a lot of very, very clever, catchy hooks in the guitars, in the vocals, in the bass lines.
Totally.
But I think it's also attributable to the production. And the production style, I would say, is fitting for the sound that they're going for.
Definitely.
However, that kind of, it's more of a lo-fi production style, and just that natural production style naturally does not allow you to have giant dynamic contrast. You just don't get that clarity in there. So that's for dynamic contrast. I feel like you need a more succinct, specific and focused production style will give you more dynamic contrast inherently, and that's just not here. This is fuzz rock. It's the whole point is just to make things sound kind of just fuzzy, not overproduced, and just it's supposed to just kind of sound gritty, and I like that. I think they accomplished that well here, especially on the track Elephant, which is one of my favorite tracks I've heard all year.
Yeah, that's a great song.
It is, and there's several tracks on here where they're just you really enjoy the production. Now, I will say one thing that still bothers me. I understand it's kind of, they did this very specifically, but there's these very cheap keyboards used throughout the album. They sound like something from like a 1970s horror, like haunted house that you would use in like a cheap haunted house. Yes, and it just doesn't sound the most intriguing to me. It sounds kind of cheap in like 70s haunted house, and to me, That was the only thing, and it took me a while to kind of swallow it. Once I got more used to it, I'm okay with it. It's not something that I love particularly, so I think that they could leave that part out, and I would like the album even more. But that's just, I think, more personal preference than anything.
Yeah.
Overall,
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Overall, though, I think that the strengths of this album come in their songwriting approach, their lack of adhering to single song structures, their catchiness and their hooks, and then the fact that they had the I guess foresight to create this album as an album experience. This is a good album.
There's a lot of tact and a lot of thought here. You can tell with just the orchestration of how they compose the instruments to fit together. They know exactly when the vocal should take the focus, when the guitar should take the focus, when the bass should take the focus, and they let the other things kind of get out of the way for those, so that you always have this flow of what's in the forefront, of what's grabbing your attention. I really appreciated that because it shows that they put a lot of thought into
Yes, and I would say that this is a maturation from Inner Speaker. In that they really perfected their sound here and made an album out of it. Whereas Inner Speaker was more track by track basis, and the songwriting probably wasn't as advanced. I would offer as Lonerism. Now, what I'm interested in is where's this band going to go from here? Because if they keep doing the same thing, eventually,
I just think they're going to have to get crazier. And I think they might.
They might have to bring George Harrison into the band.
Yeah, I know. The Smith Westerns will be pissed.
They'll be pissed.
They won't have
off.
a guitar.
They won't have a Beatle anymore. So I'm sitting at an 83 for this one. I think this has a lot of good qualities. I wasn't completely blown away by it. I'm not completely in love with it, but good. It's a good album. I'm putting my stamp of approval on it.
Sweet, I'm going 79.
Cool. Low 80s for us. It's a good album. Definitely check it out. If you haven't heard of Tame Impala, if you like rock, if you like stuff that is an album, listen, and kind of brings a new take on old ideas, this is a good album to check out. If you are a big Tame Impala fan, tell us which one is Inner Speaker or Lonerism. Which is your favorite? Let us know at www.velocitiesmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. We talk with you there, and you guys talk to us about albums you're into. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.